You have long advocated Tex Winter to go into the Hall of Fame. It's finally going to happen. What are your thoughts on that?
Great.
What did you learn from him more? You've talked for a long time how he's been one of your mentors. What have you learned from him more than anything else?
How to develop an offense from skill drills is probably the best thing that Tex taught. That basketball starts with being able to learn how to pick up the basketball and pivot. And from there you move into passing and then the other things that become more complicated. But you have to start from very basic beginning with basketball.
You've campaigned pretty hard for him. You got to feel some excitement that he's finally.
Is great a good enough word? Or do you need something bigger, like ecstatic?
Yeah.
Ecstatic. I'm ecstatic
Monumental?
over it. No, monumental doesn't quite describe it.
Okay.
You've often described him to us as somebody who is a contrarian to you, often tells you you're wrong, gets in your face about stuff. Does anyone else have that relationship with you? Has anyone ever told you you're wrong as much as he has?
My mother.
That's about it. He's number two, though?
Well, I'll tell you a story. Red Holzman, when we had a reunion, I think it was 10 years after a championship in '83, after the '73 championship reunion, Red brought his wife over, Selma, and he said, she's the real coach. She tells me how to live my life, and that's kind of the way mothers are.
Right.
So they're the ones that tell you what's right and wrong.
Dennis Rodman also into the Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts on that?
The worm?
Surprising?
Great.
Well deserved, you think? Or?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. He's not only a famous basketball player, and which is sometimes a bigger criteria in the Hall of Fame than good, but also a terrific basketball player. People here in LA probably don't remember how great he was because he had a short stint here.
Right.
But this is a guy who Michael Jordan in 97-98 season said was the most valuable player for the first 5 months of our season. He was that good. And, Scotty was out part of that year, and we had to play without him. And Tony Kukoc had to fill in, who was a great player. And Michael, in his last year with the Bulls, was still terrific. But Dennis was just superlative in that with that team.
Why, more than anything else, is this Denver team winning more than they did when they had Carmelo?
Well, I think I explained it to some of these pundits yesterday that sometimes when you lose a superstar, the ball doesn't stop. It keeps moving, and they share the ball, and they share the scoring, and nobody's trying to do more than just their role.
I want to get back to Tex. It seemed like you had written off the possibility of him, being voted in. You said most of his contemporaries had passed away, the ones that would have known his career to vote him in. Were you surprised, and did you have any inclination that it was going to happen this year?
For the past 15 years, there have been people telling me that Tex is going in the Hall of Fame. It's a board that I don't know. Maybe you guys know. It's made up of 30. Is that right, Heisler?
We don't even know.
24 to 30. No one's served on any of their. But anyway, it's a large number of people. And when Tex was verbally and cognizantly capable of receiving this award, I would have been much happier. The fact now that he's had a stroke that's impaired his capabilities, it kind of irritates me a little bit that this wasn't done 10 years ago when he was still serving basketball at such a great capacity. Still in all, I'm happy that it's been awarded.
Has anyone ever, I guess, who is in that decision-making process, ever given feedback why this took so long?
Tex said it right. Most of his contemporaries had passed away. And the idea that an assistant coach would be in a Hall of Fame kind of grated at some people, that it was made up for head coaches or general managers or people that had played the game itself in a great nature. But Tex was the winningest basketball coach in college when he went into the pros with the Houston Rockets. And he had been a head coach in so many different realms and so many different arenas, not only in the Big Ten, but the Big Eight, and then also out here with Long Beach before he retired as an active college coach. That to be hired on as a coach to the coaches was what Jerry Krause wanted to do for him. Seemed kind of like an unusual position. And he was shuttled and shunted around in the Bulls organization a little bit during different realms of coaches between Stan Albeck and Doug Collins. But we had a relationship that went very deep, Tex and I, simply because I wasn't a very good coach and didn't have a lot of knowledge, and he had a lot of knowledge. He and Johnny Bach, both his contemporary, who were my assistants, co-assistants when I was on that Bull staff, kind of educated me about the different formats of basketball. And then Tex spent 2 summers with me teaching me how to develop all the drills that I've used all these years as skill drills to develop the system that he's taught. And in that system, Tex was, in that aspect, Tex was willing to go anywhere in the world to teach the offense or teach basketball. And his giving to the game itself, I think, is something that's a great benefit to a lot of people. I mean, people in the Philippines and New Zealand and Iceland and, around the world remember, his tour and his time that he'll spend freely and givingly without really remuneration to just promote the game of basketball, and particularly his style of it.
Did he sell you on the triangle, or did you kind of get there on your own?
No, actually, the Knicks play. The Knicks played a form of the triangle offense. We had a little system without having a corner filled. We played a system that's very similar to that. And as a player, I like structure. I think it helps players settle into the game, and I liked it as a player and believed in it. And before I ran into Tex and was coaching the CBA, I ran what's called a flex offense in the CBA, which has its limitations, and I recognize them. In the process of coaching the Bulls at that particular time, Doug was completely often befuddled by the fact that we had no real great point guard to contest with Isaiah Thomas. Not too many people did. But Tex kept encouraging him that a system offense would be able to play without having one specific ball carrier, floor leader on the floor, and tried to convince Doug into running the system. And having inherited that team and knowing that we had a guard named John Paxson who was just really a terrific player, a good leader, but not particularly a point guard. It was very easy to adopt that system of offense and use it in a variety of ways in which we still continue to do, in which a guy like Derek Fisher shares the point guard responsibilities with so many different people, with Brian, with Odom, and so forth. So it's a shared opportunity, which is kind of a lost art in our game.
You talked earlier about how he was honest and direct with, anytime he felt the need to critique you, but what was the value with him having that same attitude with players and being very honest up front with them? Yeah,
we used to say there wasn't much of a governor on Tex. He just spoke what his mind, impulsively told him to say, and he was like the mind of the basketball gods. If you played against the rules of the game, he was going to, comment to you or comment to me in hopes that I would comment to the players later on. So he got frustrated with players at times. Michael Jordan, who he said couldn't pass the ball right, and Shaq, who wouldn't take coaching very easily, and Kobe, who over-penetrated or handled the ball too long, so the offense didn't run right. So every star that I've ever had on a team, except Scottie Pippen, basically, he had trouble with parts of their game.
Does Shaw sit in the seat that Tex used to sit? I think he sits to your right. Is that where Tex used to sit during the early days?
No, Tex sat in between myself and the trainer, and Chip Schaefer will tell you that many of his pants are marred by ink stains. And he'd get excited in the game, and he'd start scribbling, and it'd come off the paper and onto his pants.